I gave myself the identity of a global villager because I was fortunate to travel and work in 21 countries. And according to my uh, checked in flights that I was able to check in mostly, I have been traveling almost 30 times around the planet Earth, and that's about 3 times back and forth from the moon. That's my flights, and I have stayed nearly 800 nights at the Marriott brand. It started with Starwood SPG, and over 12 years of Platinum. So I'm a lifetime Platinum member in Marriott. And I have ate around the world with street vendors and Michelin star restaurants. Data log 2026, May 12th, day 73. This morning, I was buying breakfast from a street vendor, and that made me think about the times that I was traveling around the world working at Microsoft with my coworker and friend and mentors, Ashu and Yan. And I thought maybe today I can share my memoir, my memory, my stories on my global travel. I gave myself the identity of a global villager because I was fortunate to travel and work in 21 countries. And according to my uh, checked in flights that I was able to check in mostly, I have been traveling almost 30 times around the planet Earth, and that's about 3 times back and forth from the moon. That's my flights, and I have stayed nearly 800 nights at the Marriott brand. It started with Starwood SPG, and over 12 years of Platinum. So I'm a lifetime Platinum member in Marriott. And I have ate around the world with street vendors and Michelin star restaurants. And when I graduated from University of Virginia, UVA, I went to work at Microsoft for 10 years. And for the first 7 years, I was in Microsoft Consulting Services, doing that most of my travels. And when I graduated from UVA, I was at 90 pounds. And I gained 10 pounds per year straight for 7 years. So for my 7 years of travel initially, right after college, I gained 70 pounds. So my journey from 90 pounds of uh, a college undergraduate graduates to 160 pounds in 7 years. And of course, later on, I tried to lose weight because I was having health problems due to my eating habits. So today I will share my global villager life stories on business travel with flights and 3 cities that I enjoyed um, most. One, starting from the very beginning, is Stuttgart, Germany. Second is Taipei, Taiwan, China. And the third is Hyderabad and Calcutta, India. So that's 14 years of travel actually. I started traveling right after college as a college hire into Microsoft Consulting Services, and that's in July 2011. And I stopped traveling around April last year, 2025. So that's 14 years of travel. Yeah, so starts with the flights. So I have been check-in on this app called Foursquare back then, and I have been checking in on Foursquare. Later on, it was named Swarm, not Swamp, Swarm, SWARM, and the app is still there. And I also checked in on Facebook and Twitter on most of the flights and airports and hotels. So to me, when I was working at Microsoft, I spent most of my time, 80% of it, traveling and living in hotels. Mostly started with Starwood SPG, and later on it was acquired by Marriott. So then I switched to the Marriott, and I was based in Washington, D.C., so my flights, I was with United as a hub over there. Later on, it was 3 years in the pandemic, I moved to Seattle. And I switched to Delta. So I have been in the Star Alliance and the Sky Team. So with my flights, I'd connected Swarm with a Foursquare back then with this app called Jet Lovers, and it tracked all my flights. So this is on my WeChat post 2 years ago, and here's my link. Actually, I have it opened here. So on my flights, according to Jet Lovers, I have flown 722,990 miles. So yeah, and I have, according to the flights I have checked in, I have made 455 flights. I have been traveling 376 days, so well over a whole year. And from all the total flight time, I have spent 2 months in total in the air. I have visited 111 airports, 21 countries, and 29 times, I think almost 30 times. If I take one more trip to the US and back, I think it'll be 30 times around the Earth and 3 times to the moon and back. And they have this feature called Globe, which is amazing. It puts all your flights patterns into a globe, and you can see that I started my career based in Washington, D.C. That's why this is a red high bar. And I spent the first 5 years mostly travel domestically in Washington, D.C. In the US, based in Washington, D.C., so United flights. And of course, later on, I was based in Seattle. That's why you see that pink spike. And plus, during the pandemic, I traveled and drove across, road tripped all 48 states. I pretty much covered the land of the US. And then later, I also traveled in Germany, Stuttgart. So that's why you see the flight patterns in Europe a little bit. And also in tax year times, I traveled every 2 years for 6 years in Doha, Qatar, to participate in the WISE conference, the World Innovation for Education Summit for Education, the so-called Nobel Prize for Education Innovation. Oh, that's Doha here. Sorry, that's not Doha. Doha here. And Doha here. And then in Calcutta, India, that's where I did my serial entrepreneurship with my Calcutta team. And also Delhi, because New Delhi is a connection flight center. And of course, Hyderabad to be they call the offshore, offsite, offshore development center when I was working at Microsoft. We were the first team to say that we have to be co-located to work together, so travel there. And then lots travel in Asia for Texture and Microsoft. And for the last 2 years of my Microsoft consulting career, I was working in Taipei, Taiwan, China, working for a hospital, a famous hospital, building their hospital information system, HIS. So going from Taipei and then a lot of flights to Shanghai and between Taipei and Shanghai or Taipei and Hangzhou. And also another peak is in Beijing for Texture and Dreamcore back then. And lots of flights in China already, and Southeast Asia, of course. This spike here is for Manila, for working at the United Nations Asian Development Bank, ADB, Manila, Philippines, for the spike here. And then, of course, connection flights in Singapore, Thailand, Bangkok, etc., Vietnam. So those are my flights, Tokyo connection flights. So according to my globe, I have not yet been to, mostly the northern hemisphere, and have not yet traveled much in Europe, nothing in Africa, not much in Middle East, nothing in Australia, nothing in South America. So those are on my bucket list that I want to go. So that's my flights. Let's see what else. So the numbers. This is the old version of the Jet Lovers. Yeah, the same numbers. So yeah, it tracks all my flights. You can check in. And it tells me what are the top airports and cities I've been to. Let's see. So as I can see, most of my travels were done in 2017 and 2018. That's where I spent my 2 years in Taipei. And then spike up again during 2023 and 2024 and even 2025 before I kind of went out. My most miles accumulated in 2017, 2018 because I was taking business flights between Taipei and DC. And at business class too. That was my highlight of my moments. I achieved 1K status in United back then. Okay, my top airports, of course, Washington D.C., IAD, Dallas International. Second is in Hangzhou, Xiaoshan Airport, and then next one in Seattle, and then Taipei, Taoyuan Airport, and Beijing, and then Manila, and then Shanghai, Pudong Airport, Beijing again when I would travel domestically. Oh, connections in San Francisco and Bangkok. Most my countries, United States, and then second is China, and then should be countries and regions, right? And then Taiwan, China, and then India, and Philippines. And Thailand is mainly for connections, Singapore, Hong Kong, Germany, South Korea. Top routes, my top routes are Hangzhou and Taipei back then for dating, and then Beijing and Hangzhou for texture, Beijing and Taipei, I think it's for texture, and when I was working in Taipei, Seattle and Washington, going the East Coast and West Coast, Beijing and Washington, Los Angeles and Washington, I think it's mainly for flights, and Manila and Shanghai, of course, for Asian Development Bank, ADB, San Francisco, Seattle, and then Beijing, Shanghai, and Bangkok, Calcutta. I think the flights for Calcutta is, because it has to go through Delhi and stuff. So those are my flight status. Now, my top 3 cities and my experiences there are, I would say my most memorable city is Stuttgart, and starts with Stuttgart, Germany. I remember that was my first international business travel city, and traveled back and forth there for a couple times, working for a client, and experiencing Germany with of course, the food with the pig's thigh, and drinking beer that's cheaper than water, sausages, and lots of potatoes. Very industrial kind of feeling, and very quiet city, I remember. My second most memorable city is Taipei, because I spent the majority of my time there. And Taipei, although like for me, I'm not a very touristy person. I don't do tourist traveling. I don't do touristy traveling. So for the 2 years I spent in Taiwan or Taipei, I only traveled when friends came visit. And I remember there are funny moments with the Marriott hotel. Because I spent so much time there, they remember my name. They will call me Mr. Liao, right? And I think I spent over 400 nights in those 2 years in Taipei, and mainly in W Hotel, right across from the Taipei 101, which Microsoft Taipei has its headquarters office there. And I will have my family and friends, like for example, my mom and my aunt will come to visit, and they will stay in my hotel room. And I will sometimes ask for, like an extra bed or something like that. Or, I will have a double bed room, so they can take one bed and I'll take another. And the funny part is I sometimes will have other friends, back then maybe girlfriends or friends, like a guy friend. And I remember my guy friend Jeff came and stayed with me for was it 2 weeks or months? 2 weeks probably. And he's a big guy, right? Kind of also a baby face and very young age looking, fair skin, very sweaty guy. And Taipei is very hot. So I remember for the W Hotel front desk, they see lifetime, not, I think it was lifetime gold back then. So platinum or ambassador actually back then, because I achieved ambassador with that many nights, which is the highest secret level. And 1K is the United highest secret level. So as ambassador status staying in the hotel, they pay extra attention to your feedback. And so they will remember my name. They call me Mr. Liao, welcome back. week after week, and the weekend I fly to Hangzhou. So for a couple months, like they will see me with middle-aged women, like my mom and my aunt, going up to my room, and that they stay there for 2 weeks or months, and then they will see back then my girlfriend or somebody come to my room, right, and they see like a girl, and then they will see Jeff, uh, you know, uh, a big, sweaty, fair-skinned guy going up with me for a couple weeks. So I think they might think I have quite complicated relationships. And then of course in Taipei, Yan and Ashu will used to come over. Ashu doesn't know the language, of course, and Yan will come over and we will stay at the night markets. The most amazing times are late night markets, drinking beer with Yan on the streets, and eating the food with Ashu and our co-workers Henry and other friends in Taipei. And then when friends come over, like Ashu and Yan come over, we will go to like Taichung, and then I think I also spend time in Kending. So I traveled only when friends come over. I don't travel by myself during my trips. I usually stay in my hotels and just do texture work. So I'm not a lonely travel guy. I can't travel by myself uh, to tourist places. I can't travel or eat at a Michelin restaurant by myself for hours. Yan able to do that. Ashu, I think, does it too. I just can't. So, um, but when I traveled in domestic US, I was taking a lot of food challenges. How I gained that much weight is because I was eating. There's a three food challenges I remember. One is I met this in Pensacola, Florida, where my fraternity brother Wen Hong was stationed, and at that time I had $75 um, per meal, and I had found a $7 per dozen oyster place, raw oysters, and I ordered 10 dozen, 120 oysters in one go. So it tops to the $70 um, per diem, because over there it's reimbursement. So you eat $5 McDonald's, you reimburse $5. You eat $74.99, you reimburse $34.99. And when the client doesn't treat you well, you make sure that you reimburse to the maximum or more. And when I travel with Ashu and Yang, we used to collect our per diem and eat. So 120 oysters was my highest record for oysters. I think I ate sushi for like 200 pieces in one sushi buffet. And yeah, and then I was at a steak. It's like a 10-pound uh, steak, I remember. So I was eating a lot. That's how I gained weight. But anyways, back to cities. So Taipei, Taiwan night markets was amazing. Um, and the third city, I will call it Hyderabad. India, Kolkata, India. Hyderabad was kind of boring, actually. It was just a kind of IT sweatshop campus, and with people just there, working on campus. Although it was the first time we met Abhishek and and made great discovery and validated the hypothesis that Ashu put out, saying not all engineers in India are dumber than the engineers in the US, which was a typical way that Microsoft Consulting in the US will put it. Oh, we just gave the requirement to the offshore and let them code it. Code monkeys back then. So we didn't believe that. We wanted to we see people as equals, and there are intelligent, smart, creative people everywhere. So we were the first to put our people co-located with our offshore India Hyderabad team, and then we made friendship through that way by mutual respect of each other. And similarly, we took that value and that approach and those learnings and trainings for generalist engineers to uh, Calcutta, India, where the birthplace of Tagore, um, and we worked with college hires there, just like I did when I got hired in Microsoft. And that was my best time traveling in India. And Calcutta, being a such mixed melting pot, and had the first Nobel laureate Tagore, had the first university in Asia, had the first library in Asia, had the first a lot of things in Asia. It was an amazing city, and it has we were invited to the Calcutta Club and some of the exclusive clubs. Although the idea of exclusivity is not something I value, but meeting people with kind of that old history or old money background. Uh, Interesting to learn how Asia was first open port with the West. Was in Calcutta, India. So the Marble Palace, Tagore's place. I went there maybe 3 or 4 times, even once at Tagore's birthday. Um, the different museums, the different art museums and the art festivals. We also started Texture's first India a Calcutta pilot, a knowledge tree in the church, I think the Spanish church uh, in the street in the center street, Rosemary Church. I'll put the address here to show. So yeah, Calcutta, and then the spicy, the masala spices and the amazing flavors of Indian cuisine, and especially home cooking cuisine, is what is mostly um, amazing about Indian food. And the spices, you explode in your mouth. The taste buds explode with Indian food, and it's nothing called curry. Like curry is, I think it's just in the U.S. we don't know what it is, and we just call everything Indian food curry. But in India, there's nothing called a single dish called curry. There are different names for every single different things. So I had the pleasure of eating all kinds of food around the world, and that's why I don't choose food, because I call myself the equal opportunity eater. And the food that I really loved and most is when I traveled in rural China, when I was on the top of Sichuan Mountain, and the kid will capture a wild bamboo snake and a wild mountain chicken, and they call it the dragon phoenix soup. And that xian, like uh, 酸甜苦辣咸, like the 5 flavors, the sour, sweet, salty, bitter, and sour, sweet, 酸, 甜, sweet, 苦, bitter, spicy, and sweet. Those 5 flavors, China had a 6th flavor called xian, fresh, and it's actually written as fish and goat. So from the water and from the mountain. That xian flavor is what is quite amazing in um, in rural China, that money cannot buy. And that's why when I order in the cities, I just eat anything, because the food I really want I cannot buy, but then the rest of the food you buy with money, all diverse. I joke with my friends, my goal in life is to find food that I don't like, and I haven't found one yet. That's about food, and of course I'll and later add to what I shared when I was buying breakfast this morning. And the next thing is about hotels. So those are about my flights. The next thing is about hotels. I started with my hotel chain with Starwood, SPG, and I have achieved their highest standard of ambassador, their secret level. And then later, SPG was acquired by Marriott, unfortunately, and the ambassador service, although carried over, it was much lower downgraded. And last year, in 2024, February, I achieved their lifetime status. And according to that lifetime platinum elite journey that they gave me the postcard, I have earned at that time 1,320,079 miles, 79 lifetime points, redeemed over 1,009,000 lifetime points, stayed at that time 638 nights, but now it's over that. Stayed at 17 out of 30 brands. Most visit city again, Taipei, Shanghai, Taipei City again, and Hyderabad. And stay most is Westin, Sheraton, and 4 Points, according to this card. So yeah, so in 2024, February 24 is when I achieved it. Now, if I look at my status now, I have 791 nights. I have stayed at Marriott, so I'm a lifetime platinum elite at a total of 12 years at platinum or higher, which I achieved the ambassador level. And the rules about lifetime is you have achieved at least 600 lifetime nights plus 10 years of platinum status or higher. And I have achieved 12 years and 791. So 9 more nights in Marriott, I will achieve 800. And currently I have over 675,093 points I haven't used for my points balance. So that's like if you redeem at those lower 6,000 points per night in China, like Hangzhou sometimes has it, I can stay 100 nights in Marriott. But one of the things that, although I have that many nights in Marriott I spent, I have seen the worst of hotels, unfortunately. Like even at the 5-star hotels, um, the beds are slept by tens of people, 10,000s of people, right? You still see kind of nasty things like never use the water pot because you don't know what they cooked in there. Some people use underwear and things like that, socks. Don't use the shower, the handheld one, because you don't know what people put those things to their different body parts. And only use the top shower. Things like that I have seen. Pretty nasty once you stay that many nights. So that's why I prefer my own car living with my car living with my car bed is much more clean and safe for me. And the space is not a problem for me because most of the time I spend on business class international travel, and the business class on United Polaris or Delta, it's about the size, like half of this size in Model Y, right? It's only half. So I have got to used to sleeping that. One of the fortunate things I have is I have amazing ability to sleep anywhere and very quickly go into deep sleep. So that's a fortunate superpower I have. That's allow me to have this kind of car living and business travel life. So according to Swamp, these are the places I have visited. China, Japan, Philippines, Manila. And I think we flew to this place, Palawan, for offsite. Brunei for business. Malaysia for connection flight. Phuket, Thailand. Bangkok. Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai. Hanoi, Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh City, Da Nang. Ho Chi Minh City. This is my Asia travel. Have not yet been to Tibet and Xinjiang. This is my India, a lot of in Calcutta. A lot of places, 37 places in Calcutta, checked in everywhere in Calcutta. Oh, this is a church, I believe. Oh no, not Momo I am. Where's my church? I'll find it later. So Calcutta, India, Jaipur, I think this is, oh no, Rourkela. Rourkela is where Ashu's University is. Hyderabad. This is Delhi, probably. No. New Delhi here, and Jaipur was Yan. Oh, I wish I found my videos that I spent the weekend trip with Yan in Jaipur. This is Delhi. And then back here is Dubai for connection. Doha, you see a lot of time in Doha. Going around with Roy, traveling around in Doha back then. Nothing in the Middle East yet. I think this is Istanbul for connection flights to Doha. Connection flights in Poland. Spent a business trip in Berlin for Microsoft training. And then a lot of time in Frankfurt for connection flight. Stuttgart, it's the first international business travel place, 17 locations I checked in. Munich for connection flight. Oh, this is the place we drove to Luxembourg, that we drove to check it out as a small country. Connection flight in Paris. Have not got out to France. Connection flight in London, and I did get out to see Chenggen and Zhou and their kid, and the London 大英博物馆 the museum to see the stolen artifacts. Have not been to Africa. Have not been to South America. Lots of places in United States and Canada, and Cancun, I think, is where I spend a vacation in. Cancun, yeah. That's how far I go in Middle America. Hawaii, spent business trip in Pearl Harbor and a friend's wedding. And in Seattle, work from home means work from Hawaii. H stands for Hawaii. And that's it. That is my global villager life. Now next is the food. 你好，你好，买早餐，买早餐。
你吃啥呀？有包子，有玉米，有粽子，茶叶蛋。
粽子。
馄饨也有，饺子也有。
粽子什么馅儿的？
猪肉爆咸菜。
粽子来一个，然后饺子什么馅儿的？
一样的。
那就粽。 菜包子有哪些啊？
没有菜包子。
菜包子是吧？那就粽子来一个，茶叶蛋来一个，然后
还有拌面。
拌面倒不需要。啊？
拌粉也有。
鸡蛋馅饼是啥？
鸡蛋馅饼是那个什么东西啊？就鸡蛋跟韭菜。
鸡蛋跟韭菜。那个来一个吧，这3个。好的，多少钱？
他在前面等一下。
到前面等是吧？好的，好的，谢谢啊。Turn on the emergency lights. Trying out a new way of getting my $2 breakfast today. Let's see how much that is. Somehow, the street food vendors, I remember, I think influenced by my mentor Yan and Ashu. We used to travel around the world in different countries, and on one side, we get $75 per day as per diem from Microsoft Consulting Services as a quota to eat per day per person. So on one extreme, that Yan used to look for Michelin star restaurants in every place that we go, and we'll collect our $75 together and then go eat, and whatever it's over, we pay AA split among the rest of us. And then on the other hand, Yan and Ashu loves street food in every country, every city that we went. So I, from combined with my rural China experiences in rural towns, going to only the choices of street food and street restaurants, it was very authentic in a way. Like you kind of get the food that the locals eat, especially for the food stalls that have lined up. And I found that street foods originates, its history kind of very much influence what the mainstream food are. Like, for example, sushi, I learned, is originated as street food in Japan. Although there is a challenge with street food is health concerns. Right? So you do want to make sure that you look for the street food stalls that have many people line up. So when I look for the street food here in China, especially in the early mornings for breakfast, I look for where the construction workers line up. They work day and night out, and they look for the most cost-effective yet healthy food, because they can't afford to get sick and they don't want to spend too much on unnecessary stuff. So when I realized that there are a couple construction sites next to my community, I always looked out for the street food vendors when they come up. And if the line for the construction workers on that food stall is long, then I think it's good, quality food. And also it is to support these mom and pop food vendors, because they are probably the most vulnerable and underserved group in the community. Although sometimes you do hear the news online that some street vendors will make a good amount of salary that's more than office workers. But I think that's a very rare few. The majority are, I believe, that are still the underserved communities. And the street food is always comes as a, I would say, not a surprise, but very unique, because it really depends on the food maker, right? The one that makes that street food, and it is unique to that food stall. And if you look from probability kind of wise, if you travel to a city and then you meet a food stall street vendor and you eat there, that's probably the only and last time in your life that you get to experience that food and have that experience there. Now, street food in China has one way has been managed and by the city management. So a lot of street food vendors used to be chased around, like Chengguan will come and chase around the street food vendors, and they will be like running around and not able to uh, stay in one place. However, in Calcutta, India, some street vendors actually established their reputation through history, through time, and they are like a hole in the wall kind of a shop where you in front of them you have common folks and you have people with Bentleys and super rich come to eat that same food in the hole in the wall place. Now you see, I order the food, and it's taking a while because to her standard, she has to make it fresh, and she is cooking and making it right now, I believe. It's just that it's on the street parking. You cannot leave the car, so I have my emergency light on and flashlight on and sit here and wait for her and sharing my $2.02 breakfast here. 2 cents naturally about street food. What are some of people's experiences with street food around the world? I wonder. And I had one bad incident of street food in, I believe it was Hyderabad, India, or Jaipur, India, where I was walking around in the heat of the summer with Yan, and I distinctly remember it was with Yan, and it is very hot and sweaty and dry, and you know, um, I was thirsty, so I saw a street vendor with coconut juice, like fresh coconut. And in my mind, my first reaction is, it's coconut. It's inside the shell, so it should be clean and safe. So I ordered one. Then I realized that the street vendor was using its fingers without gloves and like peeling off after dumping out the juice into a cup, peeling off the meat out of the coconut. And I think his hand was not sanitized, and I was like, oh, what the hell, I need to train my immune system. My immune system needs to be exercised and trained. So uh, I was eating that, and then I have diarrhea for a week. But one thing I learned also, I remember I was at the Hyderabad Microsoft campus, and if you run into that kind of um, uh, diarrhea or like upset stomach or some type of warm bacteria locally, that it's get the medicine locally because it is a um, common practice, a common condition locally. So they have local medicines that are specifically for that type of virus or bacteria or worm or something, bug or something like that. So I remember I went to the Microsoft Hyderabad campus clinic, and the doctor was asking me what's wrong, and I explained, and then he goes, "Oh, it's a tutu, poop tutu." I'm like, "Huh?" Like you poop tutu. Like, okay, very 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 soundly right. and and I told him that when I was in the hotel, I think I was in ITC or some hotel, and they have a sauna in the hotel. So I was like, yeah, I've been trying to heat it up and like, like, like soup boiling. Oh man, I'm not supposed to talk about this before I have my breakfast. But anyways, I'm trying to dry it up, and then like I told him like I was trying to heat up my stomach in the sauna, like trying to dry up this diarrhea, and then he goes, no, 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 you have to take this medicine, and he gave me 3 pills, and one per meal, and then take it for 1 day. I'm like, that's it? Can I get more? And he's like, no, that's enough. Like, this is a very strong medicine, he said, very strong. If you take too much, you will have 便秘. What's 便秘? 便秘. 便秘 English. Why am I talking about this? It's breakfast. Constipation. Yeah, if you have too much of that medicine, you will have constipation. 哎，好啦，多少钱
？7块钱。
7块钱，好的好的，我扫一下您哈。那个微信有不，支付宝有吗？一样的是吗？
有。
没，你别跑来跑去了，我来，算了，我微信那个里面钱不多，主要是，我看看啊，7块对吧？可以。不太会用的哈，一般都是用支付宝。7块。
好了。
您看，收到哈。
微信收款7元。
好的，谢谢啊。好。
欢迎下次光临。
Okay, that was $1 breakfast. $1 breakfast. You have the tea-boiled egg. You have 粽子. What's 粽子? And then, this is very tiny. That's why it's a egg and Chinese chives pancake. And that's why it's a small. It's a small. It's a small pancake, that's why. 粽子 is what? Oh, it's almost 端午. 粽子端午 English.
粽子
Sticky rice dumpling.
国际通用，直接拼音最常用。Sticky rice dumpling 直译糯米团子。
Dragon Boat Festival. Okay.
端午节。
So, Dragon Boat Festival is in June, and 粽子 is a common breakfast now. You don't have to wait for the Dragon Boat Festival.